Welcome to the Wing Wag. I'm your host, Jack O'Lynn. I'm an instrument-rated pilot and the owner of an aviation company and flight school here in Central Florida.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not guaranteed to be accurate or complete. While we research each topic, we are humans and occasionally make mistakes. For the most up-to-date information on regulations, check out the official Federal Aviation Regulations, also known as the FARs, or consult an aviation attorney. Lastly, the opinions expressed on this podcast are the guest's opinions and are not necessarily the opinions of the host or podcast. Welcome to this week's episode. I'm joined by a new guest, my brother Hunter, who is the third owner in Orlando Aerospace. Sorry, no, not my brother, business partner.
Business partner and first owner, probably.
He's the first owner.
Jack and Matthew are the second and third owners. Yeah, thank you for having me.
That's right. And today we're going to talk about all things aviation gas, otherwise known as avgas in the industry, which is different than car gas, otherwise known as
MoGas.
Why is it called MoGas?
Mo is short for automobile? Maybe. I don't know.
Possibly motor.
Well, airplanes have motors, so
that is true.
Probably not motor
Airplanes
gas.
have motors.
I'm pretty sure it has to do with automobile.
Okay.
Maybe, but I'm not. Don't quote me on that. Okay.
All right. Well, I think that should wrap it up.
Okay.
So yeah, for people who are not pilots, airplane gas is very different from car gas. They're both called gasoline, but they're completely different products. There's three main differences: the lead content, the octane rating, and like whether or not ethanol might be there, because there is some car gas without ethanol.
Right.
Okay, so we'll talk about the lead content first. Hunter, I know you did a ton of research.
Right. So lead was first added to gasoline in about the 1920s to act as an octane booster. And you want to get an octane now or wait? I think it's kind of important to know why we put lead in.
Let's talk about octane now.
Yeah.
So basically, the octane rating is the number when you fill up your car that you see on the pump. And the higher the number, the higher the compression ratio of your engine needs to be for it to combust. Or basically, the higher the number, the more pressure the gas needs to combust.
Right. And in a gasoline engine, you do not want the pressure to detonate the gas. You want the spark plug to, unlike a diesel. So you don't want any pressure caused combustion.
So if you have an octane rating that's too low for your engine, that means it can combust under a lower pressure, and it might hit that pressure before the spark plug fires, causing, I guess in that case, would be pre-ignition, and you'd send the cylinder going in the wrong direction.
Yes, and that's what we call engine knock, because it makes a pinging noise, supposedly. I don't think I've ever heard it, but
I don't think I have either.
Maybe we have like an old boat or something. We didn't know what it was, but yeah, they call it engine knocking, right?
Yeah. So the default octane rating for gasoline seems to be somewhere in the 80s. Like the nothing added to gas octane rating seems to be somewhere in the 80s. And the way they actually measure this is, at least in the United States, they do two separate experiments. Oh, what are they called? One is called the RON, the research octane number, and the other one's called the MON, the motor octane number. And so for both of these, there's a couple of other differences, but the main thing is the research octane number, they take a 600 horsepower engine, and then for the motor one, they take a 900 horsepower engine. Both of these have variable compression, and then they run the fuel through it, and they adjust the compression until you start to hear knocking.
How do you adjust compression in a motor?
I don't know.
I assume you change the timing.
Maybe you change the timing. Maybe you could
there's a compression is like when the valve goes up the cylinder, like it obviously compresses. So wouldn't you like a longer thing under the piston? What's that? A piston rod to like push it further up in the cylinder to compress it more? Like are they?
It could be, or maybe you could like lower the cylinder head. So I think it is key that these engines are running at 600 and 900 horsepower, which is a lot lower than like a car would normally run at.
600 horsepower?
Sorry, did I say horsepower?
Yeah.
No, I meant RPMs.
RPM, right.
600, 900 to 900 RPMs.
I don't know what kind of cars you're driving.
No. Yeah, that's pretty low, right?
Yeah.
No, but sorry, where were we? We were talking about
the adjustable compression, those 600 and 900 RPM motors.
I'm not sure. That's something we should look up later, and maybe we'll do an update in the future. Yeah. So yeah, not sure. But then you take those two numbers, you take the average of them, and then you get your pump rating. So that's how we do it for cars. The way you get the octane rating for airplanes is a little bit different. You actually have two numbers per fuel. Like, so the standard avgas that you guys might have heard of is called 100 low lead. So that 100 is the octane rating when the engine's operating at the most lean setting. And then the other one is at the most rich setting, which is 130, I believe, for 100 low lead.
Yep.
So considerably higher than what we know at car gas. But it's measured in its own separate way using an airplane engine.
Mm-hmm.
So the octane rating you see at the pump for car gas is not exactly comparable with the one you're seeing for airplane gas. So like Hunter was saying, we started adding tetraethyl lead to car gas to boost the octane rating and to prevent knocking, right?
Right. So if you run fuel with too low octane and an engine made for a higher octane, the fuel will likely ignite or detonate before the spark plug is meant to, so that causes knocking. So they added tetraethyl lead in the 1920s, to car gas to increase the octane, and it also helped protect the valves. It prevented I believe the valve from like micro welding onto the valve seat.
Yeah.
So then when the valve micro welds on, it gets pushed off, does that, 1,000 times a minute or whatever. That causes a lot of wear. So the lead prevents that welding, so it makes the valves last a lot longer. And that lead stayed in the car gas until some places like 2000 teens, but in America, they start phasing it out in the 70s due to the toxicity of lead. It's pretty bad neurotoxin, and it kind of makes kids stupid, kind of.
Wait, tell them the stats we read this morning.
Per Wikipedia, take that with a grain of salt. I think it said like tetraethyl lead in gasoline is responsible for like a few billion IQ points lost around the planet, and like maybe like a few $1 billion of like GDP around the whole planet, which is, I don't know how to calculate that, but maybe that's true.
But it sounds extreme.
Yeah, so either way, it wasn't good to have in the car gas, so they started phasing it out. But we'll talk about it further later, but it's not as easy to phase out in airplane gas because a lot of our airplanes are old and they need that old high octane leaded gas to run. So we still have the tetraethyl lead in our gas today.
That's right. And so, the point of that was it is now completely gone from car gas, starting in the 70s, finishing up, at least in the United States, in the 90s. I think 96 was when the US got rid of it. And there are like a few exceptions. Aviation is the biggest exception, but I think you can also have it for certain like race cars maybe, or classic cars.
NASCAR got rid of it by like 2008 maybe, so
Really?
They were later. I think Formula One got rid of it even later than that, but that's obviously not America.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so they changed
But
it.
even just removing it from the car gas was a huge move in the right direction, at least from a health perspective, because I think they were saying that aviation gas makes up like far less than 1%, maybe 0.1% of all gas sales in the US.
Right. I saw when lead was in our MoGas for like the 80 years or whatever, it released something like 100 million tons of lead in the atmosphere. And every single year, avgas releases something like, I think it's like 10 million tons. 10 tons or 10,000 tons, like something very minuscule.
A different order of magnitude.
Yeah, a few orders of magnitude smaller.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't really compare, even though the avgas does have more lead in it than even the old car gas does.
Yeah. So I guess this is the next natural thing is, why is aviation so slow to change? Why does aviation gas still have lead?
Well, aviation gas still has lead because we need a higher octane gas in airplanes. I mean, we use 100 octane usually. And the substitutes that they put in car gas, like ethanol, to increase the octane, that will not work in an airplane, mostly because it holds water. And you don't want water in your gasoline in an airplane. When you change altitudes and pressure and temperatures change, the water can kind of pull out of the gasoline, and that can shut down your motor when you're up in the sky. And also, a lot of airplanes are just old motors that don't have the upgraded valves that can handle the unleaded gas. So it's much more expensive to upgrade an airplane motor than a car motor. Like, I think the motor in our Taylorcraft's like 80 years old, and it still runs perfectly. But I would imagine if you put some ethanol fuel in there, it would run pretty roughly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's also a lot more paperwork, a lot more regulation to get new airplane motors approved. Basically, you can just design a new motor in a car and put it in. You can't do that for an airplane.
Yeah, I think that's the main one. Is just airplanes are just a whole different industry than cars, right? The life of an airplane, I don't know what the average is, but considering that we own 2 airplanes that are like 70 plus years, I think the average age of an airplane is probably more than 50 years, whereas the average age of a car actively on the street is probably like 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
And like I read the stat, I think it was saying that 30% of general aviation airplanes, the engine is not compatible at all with unleaded gas or ethanol gas. And these are the most active 30%. Like I think they said this 30% uses over 70% of the fuel. And so, yeah, they're eventually trying to phase out the lead, but it's just a much bigger, a much more complicated undertaking than it is for cars because it's such a regulated field.
Right, and we're dealing with the FAA. Nothing they are involved with goes quickly or easily. So that's, I would imagine, a really big driver in it. But I mean, there is progress towards it. There's already airplane motors now. I think you said a Rotax. They have a Rotax motor that can run off basically car gas. And they're designing more, and also they're kind of designing lead-free avgas.
The Rotax, the special thing about the Rotax is yes, car gas, but ethanol car gas. Right? So almost no airplanes can run on ethanol gas. Okay. Except for the small. So there are some airplanes that can run off car gas. Notably, our Taylorcraft does. It requires an STC, which, as we were talking about, the lead helps with like the valves and the valve seats. So you have to replace those with a higher strength material. Maybe you have to replace fuel lines or something. Not sure.
I think the ethanol affects the fuel lines most, so those could probably stay the same.
Okay.
But also, I'm not sure the ethanol-free gas we buy. I don't think that's considered car gas. Because I know Rec 90, so when you go to the pump, if they sell ethanol free, it's either a 90 octane, I think it's blue, it's called Rec 90, or I think you're saying like 87 octane. Yeah. And I forgot what that one's called, but I don't think they're actually considered MoGas. Like Rec 90 is not meant for, I mean, people put it in their cars, but it's predominantly a boat gas, recreational vehicle, boats, ATVs.
Yeah, that's true.
Things like that.
Yeah, at least our STC sticker on the airplane does say rated for whatever octane auto gas,
but no ethanol.
Yeah.
Does it say no ethanol on the sticker, or is that just for us to assume?
That I don't remember. But I think it's safe to
in.
assume we should not put ethanol in. I think they were saying if you want to put ethanol through it, so yeah, you need to do the fuel lines, but then also I think you need extra pressure. The fuel needs to be under a higher pressure to prevent
the phase
change.
Yeah.
So some airplanes already can run off ethanol-free unleaded gasoline that you would get from a gas station for recreational vehicles and things. And that's especially common with low compression, older engines. Like our Taylorcraft has a Continental A65 and very low compression engine. It was probably certified for the original like 8087 avgas, leaded avgas, and was converted over to autogas at some point in the past. It was before we owned the plane.
But I think getting airplanes being able to run on that ethanol-free car pump gas, that's not really the solution that's going to actually make a big impact on decreasing the amount of avgas used. Right. They're going to have to invent a lead or decrease the amount of lead in avgas. They're going to have to invent a new avgas that doesn't have lead, I think, because there's just so many planes that probably don't even have available STCs to run on that fuel. So
yeah, or their compression's too high for it.
Yeah, so they need 100 octane or maybe more. So they're going to have to, and they are. I'm not super familiar, but I know they have some fuels that I think at bigger airports you can buy, not the small ones we go at, obviously. But
yeah, so like we were saying, lead is an octane booster. So if you the standard avgas is just 100 low lead, and if you just remove the tetraethyl lead, it goes down to unleaded 94. So it loses 6 octane points, which for a lot of engines that's unacceptable. So and so you can buy additives, octane boosters that are non-lead based. They're just not as effective, so you have to add more of them than you would for lead, but that can work. And so I think, actually I don't want to speak on this. I don't know what the most common unleaded avgas is right now because I don't think one standard has really won out.
No.
Do you know?
No, and I'm thinking the additives that non-avgas related that they put in gas to replace lead was ethanol. So obviously that can be in airplanes. And I think you can also add like other petroleum products like natural gas, I think, or something like natural gas you can add into gasoline. Obviously natural gas is fine. That doesn't hold water. And that's an octane booster as well. So maybe they have one that uses some other petroleum product like that, because any petroleum product won't be holding water like organic ethanol does, obviously.
Yeah. So 100% you can find this gas at some airports, but from what I can tell, most of those airports are either in California, Oregon, or Washington. I've personally never seen this gas. I've only seen 100 low lead and Jet A.
Do you know what color that gas would be? Is it blue? That cool Gatorade?
I don't know.
They better make it a tasty color, though. I mean, no one's gonna want to give up the light blue low lead if it's like brown.
Yeah,
it's gonna be like pink.
One thing that's interesting. So yeah, so they color code different avgases so you don't accidentally mix them up. So 100 low lead, the most common, is this cool light blue.
And if you're gassing up on a hot day, it looks perfect.
It does.
Think Fortnite Chug Jug.
Oh yeah,
that's what we're talking about.
They also have, I don't think they sell this anymore anywhere, but they have 8087, which was red. And then the other main color we learned about, at least in my private pilot license, was, I believe Jet A is wheat colored. And they did describe it as wheat and not yellow.
Do they color it wheat, or is it naturally wheat?
Actually,
Jet A is that's like pure kerosene, right? So probably it's clear.
Probably.
So they probably colored.
There's also a green variant, but I forgot what green gas was, and I don't think it was ever very common. But yeah, so interesting thing about the name, 100 low lead actually has quite a bit of lead. So actually, I'll let you say this stat. You know it better than I do. How much lead was in car gas at the peak? So yeah, we were talking about the lead content in gas. So yeah, it's called 100 low lead, but compared to auto gas, it actually has a lot more lead. So how much lead was in car gas?
Pre-environmental regulations, car gas had about a gram of tetraethyl lead per gallon. And then obviously currently there's none. And then current avgas has about a little over 2 grams of tetraethyl lead per gallon. And then the old non-low leaded avgas had over 4 grams of tetraethyl lead per gallon. So even though this 100 low lead avgas we have now is low lead compared to the old avgas, it's still pretty high in lead, double what pre-regulation MoGas was. So not an insignificant amount of lead.
Yeah. So obviously, eventually, they are going to remove the lead from the avgas.
Right. Yeah.
What have they made any progress? Like when did all this begin, and what timeline are we looking at?
For MoGas or avgas?
For avgas.
For avgas, I'm not sure, to be honest. I mean, obviously we have some unleaded avgases now. They're not common. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. It seems like there was a push for it in the 2000s to replace it. And this is where it kind of unearthed a lot of the data we were just talking about how 30% of the general aviation fleet is using 70% of the gas and not being compatible with unleaded or ethanol gases at this time. And so it was kind of pushed down the road until the 2010s. And then there was some studies saying that they would phase it all out by 2017, and that obviously never happened. Now we're sitting here in 2025, and like I mentioned earlier, I've never seen anything but 100 low lead or Jet A at an airport.
Yeah, it probably kind of goes with what administration is in the federal government, I would assume probably the Trump presidency is not super, or at least taking lead out of avgas isn't top on their priorities.
Right.
But I'm sure if, Obama 2.0 came through, maybe that would be a more important thing for the FAA. So it's probably pretty political as well as regulatory.
Right. Yeah. Right. It'll definitely take a couple years at the very least from this moment.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, I have some fun facts about the person who added tetraethyl lead to car. It was invented in Germany, the actual compound tetraethyl lead, in like the early or mid 19th century. But it was first added to car gas in 1921 by a GM engineer named, I think, Thomas Midgley Jr. And he was a big proponent of leaded car gas. Because even in the 1920s, the public kind of knew that this lead in car gas was probably a problem. But he would travel the country in pours pure tetraethyl lead on his hands, and he would huff it for, I think, years, going around the country vouching for this gas he made, saying how safe it was. And he did have polio and kind of died from his polio, so I'm not sure if lead causes polio.
So it sounds like it's safe.
I don't know. Maybe he was going to get it. But the funny thing about his death was, because he was an inventor, he had a lot of different patents. He also invented Freon. So
Really?
which has a bunch of CFCs. So he invented basically everything that's really bad for the environment and human health. Thomas Midgley Jr.
Was he also the CEO of Monsanto?
Yeah, coincidentally, yeah. Glyphosate, that's his. No. So he invented a lot of useful things, but maybe not the healthiest or the best for the environment. But when he had polio, polio, like your legs stop working and you lose your motor function, he invented this device that stands next to your bed, like pulleys and ropes, to help him get out of bed. And he was found dead, strangled by that device. So he joins a list of inventors who were killed by their own invention. So I was thinking, can you think of any other inventors that have been killed by their own invention?
The Segway guy. Possibly.
Yes.
I don't know if that's true, but
maybe Marie Curie. I'm not sure she invented the X-ray, but she found it or discovered it. She died of that.
Yeah. Being an early radiation scientist was not a good career.
Yeah, I mean. So yeah, he's in a short list of people like that. So he was quite the inventor, and he vouched for. I'm not sure if he knew it was toxic or if he truly believed it safe. I don't know. But I mean, his vouching worked. He was. Because the fact that the public was already aware of how toxic it was in the 20s and it stayed in car gas until the late 70s that says something about his marketing or GM's marketing or whoever is really responsible for keeping it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I remember reading this study that they've tested the air, water, ground around airports for lead content, and it seems to be mixed results. I've seen some saying that even around a pretty busy airport, the lead levels are still below what the EPA sets for the threshold for safe lead amount. I see some things saying that it's above near airports. That could go either way. But there is definitely a downside to removing the lead. At least with our current technology and current substances, it looks like the unleaded alternatives are going to be more money, somewhere between 50 cents and $1 or more extra per gallon, which is significant because avgas is already pretty expensive, more expensive than car gas. It's like a cheap avgas right now for us in the Southeast in 2025 is if it begins with a 4, right?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure people in California are 4. That sounds ideal. It's probably paying 7 there.
Me and Matthew in Blythe, California paid $7.50 a gallon.
Is there any airports near Blythe? Or they got your corner. Yeah,
that's right.
That's why.
Had to buy. We didn't do a complete full fuel up though.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
that's a company dollar right there. Save those.
That's right.
But the fact that avgas is so expensive, and I'm not sure the average person knows that Jet A is significantly cheaper than avgas.
I did not know that until I was reading.
Yeah, so I think it may be cheaper than car gas in some places. It's basically just pure kerosene, just pure normal diesel with a few additives so it doesn't freeze or coagulate at low temperatures or low pressure. So it would be really nice if they could. There already are some combustion engines typical piston combustion engines that use that Jet A, basically diesel. I think that would be the more economical solution for the common person. They don't need to invent a new fuel that's already there. Yeah. We have the new materials that can take the higher pressures that diesel engines require. That would be ideal, I think. And people are doing it. I'm not sure if that's going to win out over a new avgas, but that would be nice.
I completely forgot about that. And the reality is I think that in the short term will win out because it doesn't require a big infrastructure change. And an infrastructure change adds so much time and complexity. There are already general aviation piston aircraft that run on Jet A.
The one thing is
diesel.
You can't adjust an old avgas motor to use diesel.
That's right.
It's going to be just a new plane thing, basically. It's a completely different type of motor.
Yeah.
So we will need something for planes like our planes. We're not going to get a diesel motor in ours. But for basically all new recreational aviation planes, I think it makes sense to explore that.
So I've always heard that diesel engines weigh a lot more than normal engines.
They used to because it's higher pressure.
But that's not the case anymore?
Well, they need to withstand higher pressure because in a diesel, pressure detonates, not a spark plug.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, diesels were heavy in the 60s because they were like giant, iron blocks. But now I'm sure they have probably really strong aluminum blocks or something like that that can take the pressures and still be light.
Trivia. What's the octane rating of diesel?
So it does ignite under pressure. So
it does?
It can't be super high, but I know that those engines run at high pressure, 110.
It's less than gasoline.
Really?
I don't know what it is. I don't remember. But
Okay.
it was, when I read it, I was like, whoa, that's low. Like, I want to say like in the 50s.
I did know that. Yeah, diesel's way more stable than gasoline. Like you can toss a match in a thing of diesel and nothing happens. You can't do it with gas. Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, I guess for diesel, like it needs to kind of consistently detonate under pressure. Like so, even though like a low octane gas will like sometimes cause engine knock, it's not like all the gas is detonating nice and smoothly at that pressure. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. What else haven't we talked about? So we talked about the lead, talked about the octane rating. We can talk a little about ethanol.
Yeah.
Because I think this is interesting. So you already mentioned ethanol is a replacement kind of for tetraethyl lead in that it is also an octane booster. It doesn't have some of the side benefits like the
valve protection.
Yeah, the valve protection or anything of that. But how did that get so big?
The good old government.
Yeah.
The government, or more specifically, big ag subsidizing the government to convincing them that it's very important that we have this, I guess, this growable fuel that we can grow in America and put in our gas. And I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it keeps a lot of farmers going today. Like a ton of America's corn goes into making ethanol that gets put in our gas, even though ethanol does kind of hurt the quality of gasoline, a lot of the qualities of gasoline. But through subsidies, it's a popular additive now. I mean, ethanol, it is good. It does have a lot of more energy per gallon than gasoline does. Like I'm pretty sure NASCAR runs off pure ethanol, but there's other considerations than just energy. There's wear and things like that. Yeah.
So would you, since it has more energy, would you say that like filling your car with ethanol gas, like gas mixed with ethanol, you'll get better mileage than if you did ethanol free?
Well, when it comes to car gas, like, I'm not an expert, but I think if you talk to like drag racing people, they know more about this. That's not just the energy that's in the gas. You have to do the stoichiometry and see how much gas you can mix with a certain amount of air. So like methanol, I'm pretty sure has less energy per gallon than gas, but you need way more methanol for the same volume of air, so you can get more in. You can get more in for a clean combustion. So it's not just about the amount of energy in a gallon of fuel. Point. You have to take into account the stoichiometry, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I'm no expert on that, so don't take my. But I'm pretty sure that's the case for methanol. I don't know about ethanol.
When you were talking about like the subsidies, is it like? Do you think it would be safe to say that putting ethanol in gas like absorbs the extra supply of corn produced? Like if people aren't buying enough corn, the U.S. government wants to keep corn production at a certain level, and then the excess goes towards gasoline?
I mean, maybe that's how they want to sell it to us, but the fact is that ethanol is legally required to be in pretty much all car gas means like they're no longer just using the extra corn. Okay, they're clearly growing corn just for that purpose. And it's been now 50 years or so. So no, I think there's a whole economy of farmers growing corn for ethanol.
Just for gas.
Right.
Well, is it always at the same level? Like, does car gas always have the same percentage of ethanol, or does that depend on the year? I
don't know. I mean, ethanol is an octane booster, so I assume they are adding it to get to an ethanol. I mean, to an octane number. So I'm not sure, but I mean, it makes sense that if you want like a steady 87 octane fuel, that you would be adding the same amount of ethanol per gallon of gas. I'm not sure. And also, we'll probably get to this, but you need to add a lot more ethanol to gas to get the high octane. And tetraethyl,
go into it.
You have to add 1 gram of tetraethyl lead or 2 grams of avgas to get to 100 octane. I'm not sure the specifics, but I think like a car gas is like 20% ethanol. It's a ton of ethanol in there. That's another reason why it's maybe not the best fuel additive. You need a lot of it. And that's just that 20% or whatever it is, don't hold me to that, it's a lot of space to hold water because ethanol holds water, which is bad for any engine.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a I read at the very bottom of his Wikipedia page, so maybe this isn't true, but as of 2024, there was some I assume some really hipster guy writing a screenplay of like a biopic of Thomas Midgley Jr. and it's called Midge. So I assume it just has to do with him inventing everything bad for the environment.
We'll go see it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure this screenplay is ever going to make it to the screen. Someone tells me Midge isn't going to make it.
It's a play.
But yeah,
not a screenplay.
Yeah, that's actually right.
Yeah. What was the last country to get rid of leaded gasoline?
Algeria, 2017?
2021.
2021.
2021.
I would like to see stats of the lead output from car gas by country. Like, was it, because it seems like America had pretty 1 gram a gallon, like not a ton, and we started getting rid of it pretty early. But we also had a lot more cars than I think Africa did in the mid 20th century. I'd be curious, how much is Africa responsible for
I don't know.
lead poisoning?
I doubt very much. I think the U.S. was the greatest
really?
fuel consumer during
China?
that time period.
India?
During that time period, I think so.
China and India. Think they didn't have cars in China?
They did. China and India were a lot different in 70 through 90 than they are between 90 and 2020.
I saw that the UN, in 2020, they celebrate, we have removed all lead from car gas. But I'm like, are we trusting that China's following these rules? Do you think if it's not cheaper for them to add lead and not waste their corn and ethanol, they're probably still
I don't know.
They're probably still putting lead. I don't know, but
it was nowhere to be found on Wikipedia if they are still doing it.
Yes, this is speculation. That's all I'm saying. We'll have to go to China and do some sampling of air. Yeah. They don't have good air there, so something's causing
it. Oh, one little note. So like we said, our Taylorcraft has an STC for autogas, ethanol-free autogas, which we normally do use just because it's cheaper and the gas tank's not so big, so it's not too unwieldy to fill it up. Mm-hmm. But we do run 100 low lead through it every couple of tanks or every couple of weeks, just because we've heard from online and talking to people that it's good for the valves, even though we have the SDC that has the hardened valves and the hardened valve seats. It's still good to have a little bit of lead in them.
I'm not sure how realistic that is, how effective that is. I think most of the lead does get blown out. So I mean, maybe there's a little residual staying there stopping the micro welding.
Could be.
But I'm not sure I'd buy that, to be honest. But it's pretty cheap. It's much cheaper than other weird engine cleaners or lubricants they're trying to sell you. So might as well try.
Then I'll say this. We choose to believe that so we don't feel bad when we have to buy 100 low lead instead of ethanol-free car gas.
Yeah, we're doing something good for airplane.
That's right.
When we're stuck at an airport and we can't get the ethanol-free car gas.
Also, I guess you've never seen this, but when me and Matthew were at the Yellow Jacket Flying Club, we would have to clean the spark plugs of the airplanes, and lead does build up on the spark plugs, which I'm guessing does not happen when you're using unleaded gas.
No, which is that's funny. That's probably what the one of the few mechanical advantages of having unleaded gas. Because I feel like if you go into an auto, a car garage nowadays, a car shop, and you ask a mechanic, I bet all of them probably put ethanol-free gas in their cars when they can. I'm pretty sure ethanol it's just so bad on engines, even if engines made for ethanol. It's interesting that maybe ethanol gas does have some small benefit. Or at least the lack of lead in it is the benefit. Yeah. Probably not the ethanol.
Yeah.
I would actually be curious to know, we talked about the GDP cost of lead, the lead toxicity. What's the GDP cost of a bunch of broken mower, boat, car motors from removing lead and adding ethanol? Because I think it's more. I bet it's a ton. Engines don't last long, or especially when they first switched over. I would assume a lot of that has to do with the change in gas.
Yeah. I also wonder, I've never seen a stat on this. I wonder how many, if any, plane crashes are due to somebody trying to put just normal car gas in their airplane.
I heard John Denver's was that.
Was it really?
No. I think he was high or drunk or something. But no,
it's because he didn't have a license.
I would never besmirch John Denver. He was a good pilot, and he just came down for some reason.
That mountain turd.
Well, actually, I think this was a little off topic. I thought that it was long easy, right? He was
long easy,
and he didn't he was pretty new to it, and he didn't know how like the valve to switch the pull to switch the gas tanks.
Oh,
And maybe this is another guy with long ears. I think it was him, and he forgot to didn't know how to flip the valve and ran out of gas.
I think that's a common problem.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how to flip the gas valve in our Taylorcraft, but we haven't been on so many flights more than about 30 minutes. So
We don't.
or maybe an hour, 30 minutes.
With our single nose tank, we don't have a lot of valve switching to do.
Nope.
Not until we get that wing tank working correctly.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
The 170 has those valves, right?
It does. So in the Cessna's the standard way, on the floor between the pilots, there's like a little box, like a twist thing between, and you set it to both, neither left or right.
Right. There's no nose tank. It's just
Nope.
two in the wings, and
Two in
they
the wings.
flow in.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. All good?
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Hopefully, I'll come on again, discuss another good topic.
That's
I'll
right.
have to think of something. Yeah.
This is a good place to land the plane.
That was really good.
Thank you for listening to The Wing Wag. If you liked this episode, please consider subscribing. And if you're out flying today, make sure to give somebody a wing wag.